It has been such a joy being here with all of you. Thank you for the ways that you have welcomed us into your parish, into your heart. And know that we have done the same, that all of you have deeply touched us as well. So we're going to finish this final mission session. We'll start with an opening song with the choir, and then Father Barnabas and I will start our presentation. So you can all stand.
I tasted of the sweetness of love, when my heart becomes free, and my shame is undone. Your presence, Lord. There's nothing but more that could ever come close. Nothing can compare. Your love within both. Your presence, Lord. I've tasted and seen of the sweetness of love, when my heart becomes free, and my shame is undone. Your presence, Lord. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory shines what our hearts long for, to be overcome by your presence, Lord. Your presence, Lord. Let us become more aware of your presence. Let us experience the love of your goodness. Let us become more aware of your presence. Let us experience the glory of your goodness. Let us become more aware of your presence. Let us experience the glory of your goodness. Let us become more aware of your presence. Let us experience the glory of your goodness. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Your glory, God, is what our hearts long for. To be overcome by your presence, Lord.
Let's just enter into our hearts again. Thank you for all that the Lord has done in our hearts this weekend. Lord, I thank you for being here, so present among us. You said that wherever 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, there you are in the midst of them. Thank you for drawing us into relationship with you. Thank you for drawing us into relationship with one another. Thank you for making us for communion. So we just entrust this time together to Our Lady once again, that she would just be with us, teach us how to open our hearts to Jesus like she did. Together we pray. Hail Mary,
full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. So, we're just getting set up here. But today's final presentation is one of equipping. So if you remember, part of what we do is we send all of you on mission with us. And so as we go forth, so we receive the love of God, and we're going to go forth to share the love of God. And in this presentation, we're going to kind of teach you how to journey alongside others, how to receive their heart. So last night we talked about how do I share my heart. Well, it's not always easy to share my heart if it's not going to be received, right? And so today we're going to talk about how you can receive each other's hearts in a way that really builds up communion. So, great. Father Boniface can kick us off now.
So good to see all of you. How many people were here last night? Yeah, so many of you. Isn't it beautiful? Mm-hmm. And so simple. You know, it's the Lord. To be with Him, and then a little animation, a little presence to each other, a little welcoming, opportunities to be together, to pray, to worship, to have someone pray with us, confessions, petitions, to receive a word. So many beautiful ways to encounter the Lord. It's one of the things that we hope will be a lasting gift for your parish. I mean, Kristen and I didn't do anything last night, right? That Mercy Night was really all animated by you, by your teams, and is something that you can continue to offer for people in this area. And likewise, in this talk, we want to just reinforce the ways that we can share what we have received. So I hope that everybody has been touched in some way by your encounters here with people, with us, and what you've encountered in the Lord, and how do you share what you have received. In the Joy of the Gospel, which is Pope Francis's first major document back in 2013, he was speaking generally. It was an exhortation about the new evangelization. The new evangelization is just talking about the way that we share our faith in the modern day. And he said that in order to have that, we need to build a culture of accompaniment. If you were here at the 10:30 Mass, you heard me preaching about that a little bit. That's about being present to others in a way that helps them to feel that they are a gift. It's very simply said. To be present, to hold the pain, to hold space, to help others to feel that they are really sacred ground. So he said in this teaching the joy of the gospel, the entire church needs to be initiated into the art of accompaniment. The entire church. So that's me, and that's you. The art of accompaniment, which is about learning how to remove our sandals before the sacred ground of the other. To really know that we and others are sacred ground. Our hearts are sacred ground. Holy place. My heart and your heart is a holy place. Can you imagine? Just imagine for a moment. What would this, let's just say this room of people to start with, what would it be like if we really treated each other that way? And we could expand that to all of Robisonia and the surrounding area, and we could expand farther and farther. What would our world be like if we actually treated each other like holy ground? So we can't change the whole world instantaneously, but we can make a decision to move forward for ourselves. And we can start a revolution that can expand one person at a time, and we are able to give what we receive. And so as others receive that from us, we'll be able to pass on that gift that really originates in God. So Pope Francis defines this art of accompaniment as a steadying presence. And it can be tempting to try to rush people along, to move people forward, to get them underway, to get them to a destination. Sometimes we have criteria that we're aiming at, and certainly we do have a destination. That destination is heaven. That destination is Jesus Christ. That destination is perfect love. That destination is that dream of accompaniment that the whole world would learn this. There is a destination, but how do we get there? Well, everybody's got a different pace and a different path. And as we learn to come side by side and have that warm and accompanying presence, that compassionate gaze and supportive, steadfast journeying with, that's how we move each other and move together closer to that destination. And this is really, as I mentioned, a gift for everyone, and it's one of the reasons the church has furthered this culture of accompaniment, and it's starting to spread in every different area. I mentioned already the joy of the gospel. Also, in 2020, a new directory on catechesis. So that's the formation of our children and the formation of adults. It's about learning the faith. Also, moving forward, the marriage catechumenate. So you may be aware that the preparation for marriage is going to start looking more and more like OCIA, RCIA. The process by which we enter the faith is going to be the process by which we enter marriage as well, where we have a sponsor couple, and they come alongside the engaged couple, and not just by throwing information at a distance, but by walking alongside, help that couple to prepare for marriage. And even beyond, of course, the sacrament of marriage, to have that accompaniment. Likewise, you may have picked up in the last years the synod on synodality, as Pope Francis has tried to move the church toward a more synodal approach. Synod in Greek means syn, S-Y-N, with, and odos is the way. It's together on the way, with each other on the way. I meant all three masses to preach about the response for the responsorial summit. It's one of those things, just slips right away. But be with me, Lord, when I'm in trouble. Not give me solutions, fix my problems, answers from on high, destroy my enemies. Be with me. Be with me, Lord, when I'm in trouble. Be with me. Learning to be with each other helps us to experience God's being with each of us. And then also the National Eucharistic Congress, one of the fruits of that. Anybody attend that National Eucharistic? A couple of you? Yeah, so beautiful. But one of the fruits of that was the Walk with One campaign. Just one. Can you walk with one person this year? And whoever that might be, just to come alongside and help them to grow by your love and presence to them. And of course, we've mentioned a couple of times throughout the weekend, this really originates in the Trinity. God himself is accompaniment. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, a communion of love. It's what we are made from, and it's what we are made for. It is the destination, and it is the path. We are made to be like God. We are made in his image and likeness, and we fulfill that most fully when we're in a communion of persons. And so this is the path for all of us. It's written into our nature. We can't do without it. I preached this morning about the danger, the prideful presumption of self-sufficiency. That's always the temptation for us. I want to do it myself. I want to do it on my own. There's, of course, a place for some independence. Every 2-year-old knows that. And at the same time, that 2-year-old is not capable and is not meant to be totally independent. It's meant to move into relationships of interdependence, where my strength can support your weakness, and your strength can support my weakness. And that's the interdependence that has its own ebbs and flows throughout life, but none of us is ever meant to be self-sufficient. It's not in the image and likeness of God. So this is really the basis for everything we do in the parish. Again, and Kristen mentioned it in the first talk, how much we've been able to be welcomed by you and your mission team, and to receive the warmth of this community. And what would it be like if everybody who came here felt that warmth and closeness of accompaniment? That would be such an incredible gift to be able to offer to them. So, and hopefully those of you who are visiting here, maybe for the first time, maybe have been invited by somebody else, I hope that you've experienced that here. And those who greeted you, and as you're sitting down, being noticed and received, accompanied in this place, that it really is a place that supports you. So, and just why this, why now? Well, if this originates in the Trinity, and this is always written into our nature and part of being in the image and likeness of God, why do we have to have this emphasis now? Well, we are in a remarkable time where we have more opportunities than ever before to be more isolated than ever before. It is more possible to be seemingly self-sufficient now than ever before. Like in the Middle Ages, if you got in a fight with the pig farmer, then you didn't get bacon. But now you just get it from the grocery store. Or if you got in a fight with the cobbler, then you went without shoes. Now you just order them on Amazon. We've got DoorDash and Amazon. You don't need to have a doctor, just go online. You don't need to visit a bank, just do your banking online. Every question you have and practically every service you need, you can do without interacting with another human being. Now there's obviously a convenience to that I think we all appreciate. I'm not a Luddite. I do have a doctorate in computer science. I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, we can abuse those possibilities to really replace people with technology and to isolate ourselves when relationships become difficult. Because, may I speak for everyone? Relationships can be difficult. Yes. I'm sure you've all experienced that once or twice in your life. Relationships can be difficult. And relationships are the most rewarding thing that we ever invest ourselves in, because we are made for love. And when relationships look like love, then our hearts feel fulfilled. It's worth working at. And the more that we are able to spread that, the more that we are also spreading the gospel, and implicitly at first, and then when we speak his name explicitly, we spread the face of Jesus and the love of Christ.
So where do we begin in this art of accompaniment? How do I begin to journey alongside someone? And what's the process that unfolds for them to share their heart with me? Well, it all begins with trust, right? So there's a woman by the name of Sherry Waddell who wrote a book called Intentional Discipleship. And then, and then there was also a Protestant pastor who talked about this similar thing, that in the process of coming to know Jesus, usually there was a time where somebody entered into a relationship of trust with another Christian. So it wasn't even the other Christian preaching at them or them knowing everything or them convincing everything, but there was a point where it's like, I like this person. This person loves me. This person, there's something different about this person. There's something unique about this person. This person really cares for me. And in that process of trust is where the journey to discipleship began. And I love that Father Boniface has a testimony to this. You know, that his life of discipleship began when he began to trust another human being. And it didn't start there. It didn't start. Trust had to grow in Father's relationship with David. So how do we build trust? Trust takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. But I really love this picture because who here has a fragile heart? Anybody else besides me? Where it's a little broken, it's a little fearful. But I love the hands that are holding the heart. What are the words that you see? Curious, grounded, patient, engaged, inviting, attentive, welcoming, present, observant. These are all qualities of us, of the one who accompanies, that can help build trust when somebody is sharing their heart with us. So Pope Francis talks about engaging in the apostolate of the ear. That's a mission for us. We develop relationships of trust through a vulnerable listening. So last night I talked about the vulnerability of sharing your heart, putting your heart on the line, exposing your heart. But there's a way that we can receive hearts with openness, where we also enter into a vulnerability, meaning that I'm really going to allow this person to affect me. Sometimes, as a listener, I kind of want to escape the conversation. Like, I don't know what to do with your stuff. Like, you're you're talking too much. You're crazy. I just want to kind of throw a wall up and keep going. Stay busy, not engaged. But there's a way that we can listen to the other person. We really allow them to affect us. Their stories affect us. Their pain affects us. Their joy affects us. There's a way that we can enter into their story. And that's how God enters into relationship with us. Jesus, Emmanuel, is God with us. He is with us and engages in our story in that way, where he's moved and affected by us. Pope Francis said, this is really beautiful, he says, we need to practice the art of listening, which is more than simply hearing. Listening and communication is an openness of heart, which makes possible that closeness, without which genuine spiritual encounter cannot occur. That's kind of a big thing to say, that I can't really experience God in a concrete, tangible way without somebody who listens to me very closely. Listening helps us to find the right gesture and word, which shows that we are more than simply bystanders. I sometimes want to be a bystander. I kind of want to stay away from other people and their mess, but listening calls us to be close. Only through respectful and compassionate listening can we enter on the paths of true growth and awaken a yearning for the Christian ideal, the desire to respond fully to God's love and to bring to fruition what he has sown in our lives. Pope Francis goes on to say, listening is much more than simply hearing. Hearing is about receiving information, while listening is about communication, and it calls for closeness. Listening allows us to get things right and not simply be passive onlookers, users, or consumers. Listening also means being able to share questions and doubts, to journey side by side, to banish all claims to absolute power, and to put our abilities and gifts at the service of the common good. So I love how Pope Francis talks about the martyrdom of listening. It is a martyrdom, because if we're really going to receive the other person, then we kind of have to push aside our impulses. Have you ever been listening to somebody where you wanted to say, like, oh, me too, I've done that too, and then like do a conversation takeover, and then somehow it's all about you? Or have you ever wanted to like rush the person along because you're busy? Or have you ever wanted to cut the person off, or maybe say your position? So this martyrdom, this death to self so that I can really receive the other, that's what true listening is all about. He says listening means paying attention and wanting to understand. That one's hard for me. I don't always want to understand. I just want to be right. It also means to value, to respect, and to ponder what the other person says. It involves a sort of martyrdom or self-sacrifice as we try to imitate Moses before the burning bush. We have to remove our sandals, and Father Francis has talked a lot about this, when standing on the holy ground of our encounter with the one who speaks to me. Each heart we encounter is holy ground. Each heart is where God dwells. So we're going to talk a little bit now, how can we enter into listening in a way that the other person really feels like a gift? And maybe Father Barnabas can share this one.
Dr. Conrad Barbs was, we might say, the founder of the Catholic psychology. He was formed in the first half of the 20th century, the only psychology there was with the Freudian school, and he found a lot wanting there, but he learned to connect some of those insights, which there are some rich insights there, but with a philosophy of the human person and anthropology built on St. Thomas Aquinas, and his obviously very Catholic teaching and understanding of the human person. And he discovered and developed a number of ideas, most fundamentally, that for our emotional life to come fully alive, it needs to be blessed, affirmed, emotionally affirmed by another. We need to have another help us to feel. This is, again, for those of you who were here at 10:30, what I was speaking about, that we need another to help us feel that we are a gift. So we can acknowledge that truth, hopefully. Every human person is holy ground. Every human person is a gift. Each of us has a unique goodness and worth. There is no one like you. There never has been, and there never will be. There is a unique way that you bring the presence of God into this world. But how do we come to know that in a way that we can confidently offer that? Well, that's because we experience what happens when we show up and we are received by another who delights in us, another who believes in, sees, and is moved by that unique goodness and worth that we have, without desiring to use us or change us, but simply delights in who we are fundamentally. And that gives us confidence to stand with shoulders straight and to present the gift that we are to the world. And that's something that emotional affirmation is not a once-and-done kind of thing, although often it builds on the very fundamental experience of that when we are babies, in our mother's arms, delighted in by our fathers. Those things lay deep foundations, but even if we didn't receive everything, and nobody received everything they needed in those early years, still we continue to affirm and strengthen that in the way that we are present to others. But it's another way of coming at this same concept of acknowledging the holy ground that is the other. Conrad Bars really teases this out into three expressions, three dimensions of that listening, starting from the innermost place to know, to believe in the unique goodness and worth of the other. And that's a challenge for us to take home. Do I really believe in that? Do I think that some people are worth more than other people? Do I think that some people are worth listening to, some people are a gift and others aren't? Do I have a kind of ranking of value that I place on others? But do I believe in that unique goodness and worth? And then do I allow that to move me? We're going to show you a little video about empathy here in a few moments, but allowing myself to be moved is a vulnerable choice. How am I moved by you, moved by your story, moved by the gift that you are? I have to make room for you and connect with something in myself that helps me to understand your experience. And that can be especially difficult if someone is sharing something painful. They're talking about a loss, and it's like, I don't feel like grieving a loss. I don't feel like entering into your pain right now. I'm just going to keep you at arm's length. I'm going to brush you off, and or give you some pious platitude. Well, God will make it better. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Am I really willing to let you move me inside? And that could be a movement to joy. It can be a movement to sadness. It can be a movement to fear or to hope or to desire, but to really allow you to move me interiorly. And then to let you see that, because I could be moved but keep a flat face, a flat affect. Do I let you see that I've been moved? I shared at the 10:30 Mass a very powerful experience I had of my mother when she was very advanced with Parkinson's just a few months before she died, and was very limited from dementia and physical limitations. And she didn't know that I don't know if she knew, she had been told that I was visiting or not, but anyway, when I entered into the lobby and she laid eyes on me and just lit up and was filled with joy and squealed my name as she saw me. And I felt like the greatest gift in the world. Mm-hmm. That's what another human being can do for us, to help us not just believe abstractly, but really feel and embody that gift of who we are. To believe it, to be moved by it, and then to be able to display that, to show it in our faces and our voices, even in our words.
Okay, so how do we, I won't hold this. That way I can do this and read the slide. I'm trying to. Okay, so we're going to talk about the different ways we can enter into conversation. So there's this woman by the name of Judith Gleiser. She did research on conversations for about 20 years. So there's conversations that we can enter into that require very little trust, as we see on the left, to conversations that require more trust. So when we're in a conversation where not only do we not have very little trust, but we're also starting to get a little activated. Has that ever happened to someone? What happens is we're in the amygdala part of the brain. So the most primitive part of the brain is kind of like the reptile brain, where we're in fight or flight. When somebody is in when somebody is activated in this part of the brain, they're in lockdown, and there's no way that you can influence them. So have you ever been a part of a meeting, or maybe you're talking to your husband or wife, son or daughter, and all of a sudden it's just like, they just won't listen. They never listen. I just can't get them to listen. And every time you bring this up, they just shut down. Well, sometimes it's not that they won't listen, it's that they can't listen. So when we're in conversations where we feel threatened, we're in the reptile part of the brain. Now, I've been in those type of conversations where I've been on the receiving end, but I've also been the one who's in reptile brain. I'm like, I don't actually know what this person is saying, right? I can't even hear, I can't even see, because I just feel so threatened. So actually think about the next time you have a staff meeting or a parish council meeting or a family meeting or with your husband or wife, and you start to both get activated, think about the reptile brain, and maybe it's time to take a pause. So when we're in the prefrontal cortex of our brain, this is the part of the brain where when we feel safe, when we feel like somebody understands, and there's a high amount of trust, this part of the brain is the fun part of the brain to be working out of, because we're calm and we're curious. It's where creativity happens. And so this is where we want to move so that we can develop safety and trust. So the first level of a conversation that doesn't require a lot of trust is a transactional conversation. So a transactional conversation is really just an exchange of facts about one another. So, hi, my name is Kristen. I moved here from Minnesota. Just facts. That's not a lot of vulnerability. But this level of conversation is actually important to build trust, because what if I said, hi, I'm Kristen, and I actually flew in from Jupiter. I'm on mission here. Would you trust me? Yeah, probably not, right? So we have to start with an exchange of facts and information. But we can't stay there forever because it can turn into what you call interrogate and dictate. When we're just exchanging information, like our cortisol can start to rise. Think about like when you get into a time in your marriage when things get really busy and it's just an exchange of facts. Who's taking the kids to soccer? What time's dinner tonight? What time's the carpool? We need exchange of facts, but our relationships will start to get stressed if they stay there. The second level of conversation requires a little bit more vulnerability and a sharing of myself. It's a conversation of position, where I tell you what I think about something. That can require a little bit more vulnerability, especially if I'm going to fear connection, right? So what did you think of the parish mission? And if I'm afraid to be vulnerable, I'm just going to answer how I think you want me to answer so that you like me. So there is some more trust that's required. I'm sharing my position. But I'm not sharing my position just to share my position. I'm sharing my position so that you share my position. So I'm trying to convince. Now sometimes in Catholic apologetics, we can stay at this level. Instead of building trust with somebody and journeying alongside and receiving their hearts, we're just sharing our position on the Catholic Church with them. And that can sometimes cause shutdown and not a place for growth and transformation. So we have to keep moving to greater levels of trust, which is a transformational conversation, which is a share and discover dynamic, where when I'm the one who's sharing my heart and I get a cue that this person's going to receive me no matter what. That my deepest and darkest thing that's been hanging out for a long time can be revealed and I'm still going to be seen and loved and that I'm not going to be abandoned. This is the place of transformation. This is the place of communion. This is the place of share and discover. That this other person is discovering something about me and we're being creative, and it's just like this really beautiful dynamic that can have a healing and epigenetic effect on me when I'm in this level of conversation. So maybe Father Boniface and I can do some role play on the different levels of conversation, and instead of doing this slide, we'll act out this slide. Maybe I'll have this one.
And to be clear, none of those levels of conversation are bad. It's normal. And we start with, it's how I met any of you that I've met so far. Where are you from? Have you been to Robisonia before? Where do you live? How long have you been at St. Vincent? See, these are all facts. And as you ask for facts, and then I give facts, we build trust. And then you might say, what do you think about our parish? Well, that's asking for a little bit more, but when I say, I really love it here. Had a beautiful weekend with you, met so many lovely people, and really appreciate these things. And then you see that we can align on that. And when I see, now if you came back to me like, you think so? Okay, so now we have to negotiate a little bit, and we have to work on that. But if I say what also corresponds with you, we start to build more trust, and then we start to move into more, you ever been to a parish like this before? Tell me more about your experience, and then we can move more into that share and discover space, which, as Kristen said, can really have structural changes on the person. It releases oxytocin. You might know that's the bonding hormone, and we feel connected, and connection does really healing things in our hearts. So we'll do a little role play and try to make some of these things even more tangible. I'll be interacting with Kristen. So Kristen, how you doing?
Hi, Father. Good.
What have you been up to?
Well, I just attended a parish mission at St. Francis de Sales in Robisonia.
Now, I have several places I can go with this conversation. One is I can take it. I went to a parish mission before. I really liked it. Let me tell you about my parish mission.
Cool. Thanks.
I just stole that conversation. So that went.
Conversation steal.
We could try another one. So, Kristen just went to a parish mission. And I could stay at the transactional level in a way that starts to become interrogative. How long did it last?
It was like 3 days.
And who came for that?
Parishioners and other people from around.
What was it about?
I don't know, like communion or something.
How many talks were there?
3?
Did you go to all of them?
I'm not telling you.
You can see what that starts to feel like if you just stay at the fact level. Oh, you went to a parish mission. That's great. What was that like?
I was a little nervous to go because I didn't really know anybody that would be there.
So that's pretty honest. She just shared, that was a vulnerable statement that she made to say that she's nervous. And then I could steal that back and say, I've been nervous at things before. Or don't be nervous. Neither of those are going to lead us deeper. But I could acknowledge, oh, you were a little nervous about that?
Yeah.
Was it hard for you to take the risk to come to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even Catholic. I don't even go to that parish, and I just didn't know if I would even be able to connect with the talks, or if I'd make a friend, or if I'd stand out. So I was a little anxious to go.
That's a big risk.
It felt like it, yeah.
Yeah, I give you a lot of credit for that. How did it go?
I mean, I thought it went pretty well. I mean, in the end, I was glad that I went, and people were really welcoming to me, so it felt worth it.
You felt really welcome there?
I did.
Yeah. So you can see I'm acknowledging and receiving and affirming and enjoying and not taking over. And we could go in various directions from there, exploring what's happening in her heart, what she heard in that parish mission, and those kinds of things.
So all the questions that Father Boniface was asking, when it just becomes an exchange of facts. How many sessions did you go to? How do even in this moment of role play, I was starting to feel like shut down. But it wasn't until the end that we could really go into my experience of it. So we could stay at a level of like, where did you see it advertised? How long was it? Stay at facts, but really that question of like, how was it for you? What did you think about it? It starts to open up the place of the heart. So,
to demonstrate some other things not to do. It's always useful, isn't it? Yeah. After sharing that she was nervous to go, I could bypass that. So nervousness is a sharing of some emotion, right? She's sharing something inside of her internal response to that. And maybe I don't really want to deal with that because I don't want to think about when I was nervous, rather than entering into that experience, which would cost me something to do that. I could just try to fix that. You don't need to be nervous at those things. I mean, you're fine.
Yeah, don't be nervous. That's a response that I would have. Don't be nervous. You're fine. Like, all the people there are really, really nice. Don't be nervous. Well, the fact is I was, and that was going to share my interior.
So that's called a bypass. Or we could do a spiritual bypass. That's a more sophisticated form that Christians are particularly good at. Nervousness is a kind of fear, and God says, don't be afraid. You can see that doesn't help.
Has that ever happened to you, where it's like, don't be afraid? The Bible says 365 times, don't be afraid. Or, God's got this under control. God's got it. Let go, let God. Again, those things are true, but if it's at a place of that you're disconnecting from somebody's emotional experience, it can be a bypass.
And to be a little bit gentle around this, because I'm glad that you're laughing, That's a sign that we can laugh probably at ourselves a little bit. I can tell you about these things because I'm so good at doing them. The failures, that is. But then to be fair with ourselves, sometimes it can be hard to enter into some of those places. And nervousness at attending a parish mission might be a personal thing. I might have even some wounds around that. And likewise, if somebody is sharing about having lost a spouse or a parent or a child or something else, those things can really hit some stuff in me. And we all have our own stuff. So it's not a matter of shaming ourselves for that, but then noticing. And sometimes as we are able to get in touch with those things and work through that, we can be even more present for someone else. Even to acknowledge how hard it can be to go to a place of strangers, how hard it can be to visit a new place, and things like that.
Right, so there's a lot of self-awareness that it takes to be the listener. I've made all of these mistakes. So sometimes I can project onto the other person my experience. So for example, somebody could say, is this like camera view, inside view?
Oh, no.
Okay, so then I'll just talk about it real quick. So there's a view that we can only have on the outside, the camera view. So my camera view is I see all of you sitting in your spots. But the inside view is only something you can share with me, So I don't know. How is your experience at the parish mission? You love it, or you're uncomfortable. It's only something you can say. But I could put a projection on. Like, you went to the parish mission? Cool! Was it awesome? Was it great? So I'm projecting my experience onto you and not necessarily giving you space to really share with me. So that can be another conversation stopper as well.
Let's see if we can actually, there's a nice little video that I'd love to show by Brene Brown.
Come out from somewhere. Maybe this is where I'm supposed to keep talking and teaching. Distract all of you. Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's going to reach. Or that one. Oh.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think that empathy is this kind of sacred space where someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, huh? No. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." I haven't yet. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
There's a beautiful illustration of the way that we can enter into that sacred space of another. From the place of that connection, the little heart that dwells there, so that's the heart of God. And that's what starts to fill that place of encounter that we can have with others. The Lord's presence becomes tangible. If you were here the first night of the mission, I invited you to think back on an experience in your life when you felt really loved, and then to think of how God was present there. Maybe something you hadn't done previously, but the fact that He always is. Because God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Where there is love, there is God, always. And so that connection that every one of us is capable of providing for another, and which every one of us needs from others, is a place where we can really encounter Him. Just start noticing, it would be one fruit of this time that we just started even noticing. I can tell you, once I watched this video, I notice every time "at least" comes into my head. It's always an effort to avoid, to try to make it better. It's not a bad thing. I want it to not be so bad. I want you to be built up. I want to encourage you. But what happens is I disconnect when I do that. You want to share with me something that's hard, and I don't want to look at it. I want you to look at something that's not hard. And then we disconnect. And then that disconnect can drive even greater disconnection and can drive greater isolation. But just to connect first, that's really hard. Then we may be able to move to a place that we can look together to something that's more beautiful. A lot of times what will happen from that connection is even the person himself or herself, the little guy down in the hole, will start to say, well, I do have some blessings in my life. But that follows from the connection rather than being put on someone. Just want to show you one more video that I'm sure you'll appreciate a great deal, and just drives home this point a little bit more.
It's just, there's all this pressure, And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me. And I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head. And it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. That's the thing that scares me most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head. Are you sure? Because, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail.
See, you're not listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this my sleepwear well is all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you.
You just
Don't.
Now, of course, that's ridiculous. And it obviously is about the nail. But the thing is, again, the end result needs to be getting the nail out, but what's the way by which we get that out? By reaching in, grabbing it, who knows what else will come out with it? That's the problem. What we really need is the connection, which has a way of strengthening the interior, which has a way of pushing other things out. Things change from the inside, and the inside is strengthened by connection, understanding, listening, presence. And that's the starting point for us. When we are connected, then we can move forward together. And rushing that process, not entering in, not doing the martyrdom of listening, these are the things that we end up driving more and more disconnection. And as I mentioned from the technological side of the divisions that are already in our world, I don't know if I need to mention so many of the tensions that are continually intensified by the tribalism and cliques and separations, our inability to really listen to each other and understand each other, which is hard. It is hard, but it's worth it. And it is the vision of God and the fulfillment of His plan for us personally and also as a people. So, just a last little image for us and a word from Pope Francis after teaching a series of Wednesday audiences, catecheses on discernment. He pointed to the example of Our Lady, and I think it's a good conclusion for us and for the mission as well, to think of Our Lady and her capacity to listen. As he says, she's a great example for us. She speaks little, she listens a lot, and she cherishes in her heart. And then when she speaks, it makes an impact. And that's true for us too. When we're able to make a connection, when there's a real bond of trust, when we can move into those transformational conversations. Of course, transformational conversations don't get things done. Transaction does. But we make progress when we can move together in that transformational space to really move to a new place. And then when we come to an opinion, when we come to an action together, it makes an impact. And we're really able to move forward in a better way. So I hope that our time with your parish has started a transformation of deeper relationships, of growing trust, encounter with the Lord, that as you grow as a parish, and those of you who are visiting and entering into this space, hopefully there are some bonds of communion and relationship that are starting to form here, that this really makes a positive impact on this whole area. I mentioned, I think last night or this morning, I really felt like that mercy night last night, the prayer, the worship, the encounters, the communion, the intercession, your time together, things flowed out of here, over the countryside, into houses, touching people in ways that we'll only know in eternity. God knows. But there's something that happens in the bond of communion that we share together. Even your listening and presence here today really makes a transforming impact. If there were more of this, there'd be less of all of the bad things happening out in the world. So really, really grateful for the time, your attention, and the opportunity to be with you these past couple of days. Maybe I'll ask our fearless leader to offer us a blessing.
Yes.
parish priest. Well, for those of you that have only been able to be here today, I hope that it has been a blessing for you this time. For those of you that have been with us for today and last night, I hope it has been a blessing. And for those of you that have been able to be at all 3 sessions, I'm sure that it has been a blessing. I have experienced in my time here a tremendous amount of love. And much of that love I've been able to return, and sometimes I have not been able to return that love. Because, well, you saw the image of a broken heart. Because, like you, my heart has been wounded over the years, and I carry those wounds with me, and they sometimes get in the way of what I know I need to be able to do. And so I pray that I'm able to do that. And I pray that you will as well. And that together, God willing and the bishop, we will be able to make that journey for many years to come. Please God. There are 3 people in a big way, in a big people, in a like people like this image of people that I need to say thank you to. The first is the mission team that gathered together over the course of the last few months, 6 months or so, to prepare for this weekend. And I don't need to say names. You know who you are, but more importantly, God knows who you are. But the work that you have done to help us to get to this weekend has been a tremendous blessing. And I'm so grateful for that. Your willingness to step up, because it's a sign for me and for everyone else of the connection and the importance and the blessing of this place, and how much potential there is for more growth. And that's what I want to see in the years to come, and even the days and weeks and months to come as well. So thank you to the team who has participated in making this a success, because when I first said I thought we ought to do this back last spring, I knew that I could not do all that alone. And it would only happen because many of you would step up. And I'm so grateful to those of you that did. The second group of people, the second person, because it's, so I had a dinner with Father and Kristen and Bobby on Friday. We got talking about a bunch of different things. And one of the things came up was this image of an orchestra. And there's a conductor and then there's instruments. And it's a really great image for this group because it's the music group. And I had met with kind of the music ministry leaders. Oh, when did we have that meeting last? Back in the spring, probably, yeah. And I said, I really want to step it up. I want to step it up beautifully. And the many parishes that I've been at over the course of my years as a priest, this is the first parish that I've been to where you sing. It's like, they sing? Please don't sing. It's wonderful. And I knew that just taking it and just turning it up, turning the heat up a little bit would just amplify that. I want to thank the group of our musicians, our regular musicians, who took an extraordinary amount of time to
provide us with music this weekend that I hope you have all fun. And then of course, the last person that I want to thank, well, he's not the last, is the team of the Institute for Ministry Formation. My dear friends, Father Boniface, of course, and I haven't said this, and I'm kind of reluctant to say it. I don't know, he might get mad at me later. It's okay. You know, once a month I drive out to Latrobe. It's about just shy of 4 hours, so that I can spend time with him. And it's all his fault. Anything that I say or do, it's all his fault. For the last 6.5 years, he has been my spiritual director.
Sweet.
Thank you. I hate you. Because he's taught me how to cry. And I don't want to leave out, and I can't leave out Kristen and Bobby. Bobby's been running around with the camera. She's been at the table in the back there. And I met Bobby when I started the spiritual direction program out at the Institute. And she was the first person, and just really, she's out sitting back there in the hall. I can see, yeah, I see you back there. You know, please say hello to Bobby on the way out. She just made me feel so welcome out there. And I'm so grateful that I got that email. When did you send me an email? Like Thursday? Wednesday. Wednesday. Bobby's coming. And don't worry, she'll get her own accommodations, and you know, because it's last minute, we didn't expect it. And I said, oh no, that's not who we are. I looked around at a couple of the folks at the table, and, oh yeah, no problem. And hope you had a good weekend with Lori and Ellen. Yeah, and then Kristen, and it's just been such it's just been hamana. And as I said on Friday night, Kristen, I got to know Kristen a little bit through the program, spiritual direction program, because we were classes together. There's really been in these last months just kind of communicating back and forth and meeting, and you know, kind of the one-on-one meetings that we had, where just being able to share with each other the blessings that you knew, and I really kind of sort of knew, and I knew that we would have here. So to Father and Bobby and Kristen, thank you so much for what you have given to us. What a gift to our parish. And I did say there was one other, but actually there's two other people that I need to say thank you to. I say the best for last, or yeah, I remember in the seminary there was a bishop who would come out to the seminary, the auxiliary bishop, and I want to thank God, Almighty God, and he would go on forever and ever and ever. But we got to thank God. We need to thank God. But I want to thank God from this perspective. You know, those of you who are here, parishioners, you know, through the weeks of January and February, I preached on priesthood and what it means to be a priest. And I hope you get the sense that I spoke from my heart of what it means for me to be a priest, and how blessed my priesthood has been over these almost 30 years. How many years, Mom? 39 years? Man, doesn't seem possible. How is that possible? Where did they go? But You want to know? Don't you know where they go? Yeah, my little boy. But my desire to preach that message of what it means to be a priest really came from, and I never spoke about the second reading of those weeks, which was St. Paul's letter, the second letter to the Corinthians, where he speaks about the body of Christ. Thank you. Because you are the body of Christ. And it's in this body where God dwells. So that's why I'm kind of, how do I juggle this? Is it, do I thank God? Or do I thank you? The truth is, you are Him and He is you. So thank you for being here. And we'll continue to pray that this mission has been for all of us the blessing that God